Dear February, you're testing my patience. You took all of January's goodness and wrung it dry. I thought I hated it being dark, but now it's light after 5 PM and I don't care because I am more sad about my dog and my job than I am sad about the weather. I've had to navigate weird things with my friends and family and weird moods within myself that I'm still trying to untangle and analyse and work out why or what they mean. I've had runaway dreams and got lost in my head, and then I've been brought back to earth and felt silly for dreaming too big. I've woken up on too many mornings having lived in a dream world preferable to my everyday reality, with friends I miss, at school where life was not heavy and sadness didn't exist in the same way it does now. Woken up with the weird tinge of sadness that accompanies those dreams, carrying that throughout the day, not even giving myself a chance to have a good day because my sad dream sets the tone. And I walk through the day trying to be grateful but ultimately feeling alone and friendless and lost, and constantly asking myself, is this all there is for me? My lack of gratitude makes me cringe. February, you've not been the kindest to me. You've dropped me into grief and it feels so heavy. My dog died on the 12th and I have carried her with me daily, in big sobbing outbursts at first and then in quiet moments where my eyes water as I remember another thing about her. I miss seeing her wandering around the garden, hearing her paws on the wooden floor. I miss hearing her bark at the door, wanting to be let out because she's decided she's eaten enough of her dinner and doesn't want it anymore. I miss walking in and going, "Ah, it's Sophie!" calling her silly Sophus and singing "Snuggly Sophus" on the sofa. I feel guilty and sad and overwhelmed. I feel silly for feeling grief. I feel reminded of all the other people and things I have grieved over the years. It makes everything else heavy. Real life recedes and I feel like I'm living in memory, realising that the normality of January was a blank canvas for all this grief and sadness to wash over. My normal routines are the same, but it is all tinged with sadness. I'm glad I didn't take that normality for granted. My job was quiet last month and just going on with things, and I was so grateful for that at the time. And now, of course, it's all changed again, and I'm finding things challenging and frustrating, but I have to live with that tension and just let things be. February, you rushed by too fast. January felt like 5 lifetimes, but February you feel only a week long. The grief truncated you, I think. At least I get paid soon, but even that seems meaningless in the face of loss. What wouldn't I give to have Sophie back? What good is income if I just constantly feel alone on the inside? Like I'm stuck in a plastic box trying to scream and people can't hear me. Or I'm a toy in a box that's only animated when people play with me, always wishing for more or wondering when things are going to change, even though I know I would have to be the change. Do I even want to change? Do I want what the change would bring? Or have I made the sadness comfortable so that I can't leave? Is it a false choice I'm offering myself? February, you're scaring me. February, how many lessons do I need to learn about grief? Since I was 16, it has lived within me, and I only just finished untangling that grief last year, and you constantly send more. I have learned that the feeling of this will last forever never lasts. I have learned you need to note your memories down while you remember, because the denial and pain makes them fade so quickly it will surprise you. I have learned that for all people's expressions of love and good wishes, the grief is yours to deal with. I hate learning the same lesson over and over about how quickly people move on, and how quickly they expect you to move on. I need to get used to taking up space and letting my grief be loud, but I don't know how. I don't know if the fact that I couldn't express it when I was young means that every subsequent grief is exaggerated and feels worse, the grief compounding itself. I wish I could step inside someone else's mind and feel how they experience grief. Are we feeling the same thing? Do they feel alone with it too? Is it worse in their mind than it is in mine? All the grief I have felt that's gone unexpressed feeds into this grief, and it's all made worse because I realise I am alone in it. Beyond my immediate family, no one's care reaches deeper than a cursory question. My grief doesn't exist in their life. They are at the beach, they are in the mountains, they are on a plane, they are with their children, they are at work, they are doing their own thing. I don't know why I expect them to carry my grief, but it's more I expect them to carry me. I expect the same care I have for others to be mirrored back, and February you keep hammering home the lesson that I am alone. I can't expect other people to care. Why is this the lesson that life keeps teaching me? Why do I have to feel so much in a world that is full of careless people? Why do I have to be aware of everything, all the time? February, you've not touched my sobriety, and I'm grateful for that at least. No one can take that away from me. I'm not going to take it away from myself. But February, you've taken music away from me. Grief means anything makes me tear up. I love music and want to listen every day, but it's too emotional. I've lost myself in podcasts, but with everything going on in the world, the podcasts have brought their own level of depression, frustration and despair. I argue with the radio. I turn off a podcast when some federal employee says they voted for Trump and they're sad they've lost their job, but they didn't realise he meant their agency, only the inefficient ones. I wish I could exist in their minds to see how they go through life. I feel like it would be simpler. to go through life thinking you are immune to everything, that the bad thing could never happen to you. You made me swap my music for podcast February, and for that I cannot forgive you. There needs to be balance, and that's what I'm trying to do now. But there are some songs I'm afraid I have lost forever. I gave Sophie a bath on Monday after the vets, and she sat there pathetically as I washed her. Then I took 40 minutes to dry her with the hairdryer, and as she sat there patiently, I sang her Lana Del Rey songs, and now I'm worried I've lost those songs forever, because when I think of them now I start crying. I know time will make it easier, but that makes me sadder, because if these songs don't make me sad, that means I'm forgetting Sophie. That means she is less now. I don't understand how I'm supposed to deal with the layers of grief. It's not new to me, and I guess it's inevitable, but I don't understand it. I keep having one-sided conversations with God about it, because what can the answer be? I remember reading about how the amount of carbon atoms that makes up a living being is so precise that maybe this is the only way that our bodies can exist, so that's why things are like this. I feel drawn to reading all those spiritual religious books again because the same questions are going around my head and none of the answers I can think of are satisfying enough. Or that Tennyson quote about, "It's better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all." It seems so empty. Why do I have to pick? Why does love have to come with loss? Why is the world designed that way? I hate that I can ask the questions, that I still ask them, even though no answer is forthcoming. February, you've got me listening to the Psalms and saying Psalm 91 under my breath like I did in January 2022. From that alone I can tell it's some dark places you've taken me to. February, my routines have got me through. We got back from the vets and I cried all afternoon. I didn't shower that evening, but I have every night since. I didn't let that one night off break my routine. I collapsed exhausted into my bed and tried to sleep and then woke up crying in the middle of the night. February, I will say I'm grateful that it's been light in the mornings and I've seen a couple beautiful sunrises, the sky all pink and orange. I'll give you that, February, you've had your moments. I've tried to keep eating and keep sleeping to keep my routines intact. I'm grateful for the foundations I've put in place, but February, you can't take credit for that. I built myself up in January. I hate that I'm looking back as if January was a good month, when really it was full of its own breakdowns, but in comparison to February, January was a better month for me. The grass is always greener, I suppose. Or like they say, the grass is greener where you water it. So I will make a garden of my expectations for March and tend quietly to the things that I know will bring me hope and strength. Spring is coming. It's light when I finish work. I'll start there. But I already know March is bringing its own challenges and own responsibilities, and I fear it is already asking too much of me. The amount of times I've had to say, keep it in the day, is alarming me, because I'm getting too far ahead. But don't you need to plan some things? I'm wondering if I need to take time off work, but then I'll lose money. Which is worth more, money or my sanity? When you ask it like that, it's not even a question. But I have financial goals that I want to reach, which again sounds ridiculous when I say it, but I just want to be normal. I just want to set a goal and reach it without having to have an existential meltdown or a huge philosophical argument with myself about it. But what will be, will be. Rest in peace, lovely Sophie. She was the bestest dog.